So welcome to another edition of the SecureDynamics TechCast. With me, I have two guests who've been on the show many, many times, so they know the drill. Welcome, Mike Manrod, CISO at Grand Canyon Education.
Thank you, Ashwin.
And welcome, Daniel Shuler, who is the CISO at Exponent.
Hey, guys.
So I know, Mike, you had broached this topic, which both Daniel and I found to be really compelling, just given where we are right now, which is going back and saying, what did we get wrong with the whole work from home as soon as COVID hit, and then looking forward, what can and should we be doing better? So let's start with you, Mike.
Well, I think one of the things that is commonly overlooked are the home configurations and the risk of that users bring into our enterprise when they're now working remote. And we did it so fast and so hasty across the world, as we were discussing earlier, like it just opens up a lot of risk.
Daniel, your thoughts?
Yeah, along with risk, home configurations, really your enterprise configurations as they are exposed externally or tweaked to allow external or remote access. And yeah, I think there's probably many, I have examples, but I'm sure there's many examples of things missed that we could probably touch base on a few of when it comes to things that we either did quickly or things that we just didn't even think about to include in some of those considerations.
So let's continue down the path, Daniel, just talking about some of the things that now in hindsight look like, hey, maybe we should have done better. What were the things that were top of mind when COVID hit, where security probably took a backseat, efficiency and availability probably was number one?
Absolutely. Availability, making sure people can get to what they needed to do the job that makes our companies profitable or makes them money, right? I think the ideas of accessibility and flexing on maybe a SAML integration that wasn't quite done yet, or a technology that wasn't quite ready to utilize MFA to authenticate the users. I think we see a lot of those that are still playing catch up into getting those working right today.
So Mike, just continuing down that path, I want you to expand on what Daniel just said, but also just thinking about MFA. If I'm a, I don't know, high schooler, right? I have no idea what MFA is. Now I'm getting these irritating text messages or Google Arts where I'm forced to do these things that I never knew. So how do you even train people to understand that this is going to be the new way going forward, plus also realizing that things could change?
Well, I think there's a few things to unpack there. One is, I think users also can get MFA fatigue. Like one thing I worry about is if users are having to swipe and getting challenged so often, they're just used to it. There have been a couple organizations that had good MFA and they were breached because one really stuck with me. The user was sitting on the couch and they got a prompt from their MFA provider and they swiped up while watching TV because they were like really mindless, but you know, they didn't even have to do any social engineering. The user just saw the swipes, like, why is my phone bugging me? All right, leave me alone, I'm watching my show. The other thing is, and Daniel, you alluded to this in our chat earlier, and I think it's so relevant. MFA protects us against a valid authenticated session over a proper port and protocol to a service. If we say make a home configuration mistake of a user jacks into an old cable modem that doesn't have DHCP enabled, say it just gives them the outside IP address and there's no host firewalling, well, now all those ports and protocols that system is listening on, it's now basically the same risk level as a web server. And then if it's got a VPN in back, somebody could RDP over 3389. And then next thing you know, now they're on your network. And whether it's because of a Wi-Fi or a misconfiguration, you know, old problems become new again with things like COVID.
So Daniel, one of my past guests, James Azar, was talking about how the extended enterprise now needs to be in every single employee's home. And he was giving the example of having to actually go and allocate budget to actually secure the home network, right? And not just train the users, but actually take not take over, but understand, hey, these are the best practices, and if it means replacing a cable modem, like you said, Mike, with a L3 managed router with an MSSP, they would go ahead and do that. But I was challenging how many CISOs have the luxury and the time and the budget to do that, right? So again, Daniel, given your expertise and connections, so many different organizations, how has the home network now extended as an extended enterprise and look at it, or do you still give training and hope and pray that everything stays safe?
Yeah, I do not have a good answer for this. I can tell you where our time and dollars are focused is that's on the endpoint and the technologies protecting that endpoint and extending those capabilities to not just, malware protections or mail protections, but network protections. So not dependent on which networks they are connected to, home networks, hotel networks, corporate networks, that the routing and the acceptance or delivery of data over or sites or services over a network are sanctioned, we can say. And really to tie that into even some of Mike's topics about MFA and when we can put those in place appropriately, or just folks I don't want to say disregarding them, but accepting them, that they're going to happen and just get out of my way. And I think you start looking into that and you see, okay, we did make some changes that maybe folks aren't used to seeing, or we've onboarded new employees that maybe aren't used to having MFA the way that we interpret or deliver MFA. And, I can definitely say that, when changes were made, I was receiving MFA prompts where I was not used to receiving them. And so that whole idea ties all the way back into some of that awareness training and communications, that we have to be very specific with our employees to say, you will receive it here, you will receive it this often. If you receive it out of this, we need to know, or you need to report it as a malicious attempt.
So final question, both of you. Let's start with you, Mike. Again, going forward, right? Daniel, I know you want us not to use the word new normal, so I will not. But the point being, I think we were talking earlier today, right? Literally, you have the entire country of France going under lockdown while schools continue to open up in majority of the states in the US, right? So literally, there is going to be no normal. So given that, again, how do you keep up? I mean, everything is based on baseline. You need to kind of see how things veer off the baseline, but the baseline itself isn't there and literally changing on a daily basis. How do you go about assessment and then remediation?
Who's starting here?
How
about anyone? I start? Flexibility and flexibility. I think that's the key there, is that the way that we, or the technologies we choose, or the configurations that we make, have to be able to support whatever it's going to be. Working in the office, working from home, remaining flexible with those selections that we make is going to help us there. And I think the most understandable topic there, or the example there, would be an on-prem solution versus a SaaS solution. That one's going to travel easy, one's going to be a little more restricted, more difficult to get access to. And you look at all of the risks that come with either remote work or changing work or in the office work, and those start accumulating based on unflexible technologies. So I think that will be a continued focus for me when I'm looking at solutions.
Got it. Final last words from you, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. Very well said, Daniel. I mean, I think we have to assume that there is no normal. It's going to be permanent. And I think we need to assume our endpoints are going to be on a hostile network all the time. Whether it's due to COVID or just people being used to a more flexible lifestyle, we need to do host hardening on a level with our user workstations that we normally would have characterized only with internet-facing servers. from firewalling to reporting to the versatility of the solutions to extend wherever people happen to go.
Got it. Again, great conversation again. Thanks for your time, Mike. Thanks for your time, Daniel.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.